சரிங்க சார். ஓகே சார்.
Afternoon.
Ma'am, good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, can you hear?
Yes, to hear. Can you hear me, Vidya?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So students, they were having download and knowing file. So shall I clarify it now?
Ma'am, actually, the voice is breaking, ma'am. I think my net connection is low, ma'am. Ma'am, we can wait for some 2 to 3 minutes, ma'am, so everyone can join.
Open in. It will open in any one of your browser as Internet Explorer or Google Chrome, right? So now it is opening. So it is opening in a browser. We will have to wait for some time. And now what you do is, now we are here with the Google Classroom. We are here with the Google Classroom. So I have posted this linear regression material. So here you will have to download this file. Now I'm downloading the file. You just you press the download button here. So the file is getting downloaded here. You can see here, you just give it as, show it in folder in order to get into the location of the download. So here it is downloaded. And now it is in the downloads location, right? So now I'm getting into the Jupyter notebook again. So now I'm going to the home page here. So this was opened. I'm getting into the downloads location. So from this location, you should open the linear regression file, which was downloaded. So I'm copying it in some other location. I don't know, it is not showing me in the downloads location. I'm just copying it in my desktop, and let us find out whether it is present there. So here I'm having the file linear regression. I'm opening it now. See, now I'm able to view the file. So this is how you should open, right? You will have to open the Jupyter Notebook application, and then you will have to download the file. You will have to save it in any location, either desktop or any folder. You will have to save it, and then through this Jupyter application, you will have to open the file, right? So this is how you will have to open. Otherwise, simply if you download without opening up the Jupyter Notebook application, then it will not open. The file will not open, right? Okay. Okay, now let us start with the session. So in the morning session, we have started with machine learning. So machine learning is a branch of study where you are going to develop a model in order to predict future data with respect to historical data. So that is what machine learning is. And as we have discussed earlier, in the morning, there are different algorithms for you to develop your model, right? So there are regression algorithms, there are algorithms as decision tree, random forest, support vector model, and much more algorithms are available. And we have started with the regression technique. Regression is a statistical modeling technique where you are going to model the relationship between in a dependent variable with respect to an independent variable. So that is regression. And regression is of two major types. It is linear and logistic regression. In the morning, we have completed linear regression, and now we have to start with logistic regression. So in linear regression, there was one y variable that was a dependent variable, and it was completely dependent on the variable x, and the value of y was constantly changing with the unit change of x, right? With an unit change of x. So this was in case of linear regression. In linear regression, the main point and focus is continuous variable, in the sense the value of the variable continuously changes with respect to x, right? The value of the variable continuously changes with respect to x. So that is the dependent variable in linear regression. And now let us get into logistic regression. So now let us get into logistic regression. Okay. So logistic regression is a machine learning classification algorithm. We call it a classification algorithm due to the decision making it will be able to perform, right? So it classifies, it takes a decision, it makes a conclusion, right? Either an yes or no, right? So that is what classification technique is. And this logistic regression is a classification algorithm. It is used to predict the probability of a categorical dependent variable. So this is the point where you will have to focus. There is a major difference between the linear regression and logistic regression. So in linear regression, the dependent variable, that is the y variable, was continuous. The value of the y variable was continuously changing with respect to x. But in case of logistic regression, the dependent variable is a categorical dependent variable. It is a technique is used to predict the probability of a categorical dependent variable. In the morning, we have completed linear regression where the dependent variable was continuous in nature. But in logistic regression, we are going to find the probability of a categorical dependent variable. That is, this dependent variable takes only two values, either 0 or 1, either yes or no, either true or false, right? So as we have discussed in the morning, not all the classification algorithms are suitable for all the types of data sets which we are dealing with, right? So different algorithms suit different types of data sets. So in the morning, we want to predict the salary based on the experience of the employee. So in that case, as the experience increases, the salary increases. So for in such case, it is optimum for us to use the linear regression, right? But you consider an example where you want to find out whether it will rain or not, right? Whether a rain is possible or not. You want to predict whether a rain is possible or not, right? An yes or no condition. So you're going to predict the rain based on moisture. Based on the air moisture, you want to predict the rain. As the air moisture increases, there is a high probability of rain to occur, right? So in that case, you can have two variables. That is, you can have an independent variable x as air moisture, because the air moisture, it changes with respect to the environment. And you can have another column as rain. So the rain column can be true or false, either yes or no, right? As the air moisture decreases, there won't be a possibility of rain, so it would be 0. As the air moisture increases, as the air moisture takes higher values, there is a possibility of rain, and that takes value 1, that is true, right? So here in logistic regression, we deal with data set which needs an yes or no prediction, which needs an yes or no prediction, or true or false prediction, right? Okay. So here we have the difference between linear regression and logistic regression. In linear regression, the dependent variable was continuous. It was either continuously increasing or continuously decreasing with respect to the independent variable x. In case of logistic regression, we use this particular regression technique whenever we need a prediction, an yes or no prediction, whenever the dependent variable is categorical, right? As we have discussed with this air moisture and rain example, whenever we need an yes or no prediction, or whenever the dependent variable, that is the y variable, is categorical, which can take only values as yes or no, 0 or 1, we have to go with this logistic regression model, right? Okay, so now we are going to deal with the project. So the project is about, we are going to have, we are just going to make predictions whether a person will purchase an insurance policy or not, based on based on his age, right? Based on his age, either he will purchase an insurance policy or not. So yes or no. So for this kind of project, the best technique for us to adopt is logistic regression. And now we will get into the project. Okay. So here we will get into the project. The first thing is we will have to import the necessary files. We will have to import the necessary files, necessary libraries. So we need pandas library. And we have to, and we are going to just make some kind of visualization. To make the visualizations possible, what we are going to do is we are going to import the matplotlib library. So import matplotlib. So in this matplot library, we need pyplot module, right? We are going to use the functions of this pyplot module, and we need an object to access the functions of the pyplot module of matplot library. So here we are having it as PLT, and also we need the graph inline with our working area, and also we should be able to save the graph which we generate in some other location also, right? So for that we are going to use this particular syntax, that is matplotlib inline. Okay. So the kernel is in execution. Let it complete its execution. Okay. So now we have imported the libraries. The next step is we will have to import the data set, right? So now we will import the data set with read underscore CSV function, and we have to assign it to an object. Now I need the location of our file. So I'm having it in my desktop as Ensure. You just copy the location and you paste it here. To escape the Unicode error, you give an R here. Okay. Our data frame has been imported, and now let us just view the data frame. Yes. So this is our data frame. It is having two columns, right? See? It is having two columns, age and Ensure, right? So age, these are the age values, and Ensure. So this Ensure variable is the categorical dependent variable. Categorical dependent variable, it takes value either 0 or 1. If it is 0, the person is not going to insure, right? The probability for him to insure is false. And if the value is 1, the probability for a person with that particular age is yes or true, right? He will insure. So this is the categorical dependent variable. Insure is a categorical dependent variable. And now let us just make some more exploration of our data. We will find out how many number of rows and columns this data is containing using the shape command. It is containing around 27 rows and 2 columns. That is age and the insure column, yes or no column. Okay. Okay. So now the next question is, next what we have to do is, So we have completed this. We have imported the necessary libraries. We have imported the data set. We have explored the data frame. We have explored the data frame. And now we are going to use the scatter plot to see the data distribution. We are going to use scatter plot to see the data distribution. So how do we do it? So we are going to call a scatter function, which is available in pyplot module of matplotlib library, right? So we have created an object called as PLT. With this, we are going to make a call to the scatter function, and we are going to make a scatter plot of our data, right? So we will have to feed in our data here. So how do you feed in our data? With the object name, that is the data frame name, and followed by your X variable name, right? X variable name, it is age. Either you can select the column age by dot operator or by the square braces, right? It depends upon your own choice. And we will have to feed in our Y, that is the dependent variable. We will have to select that particular column. So that is data dot ensure. Ensure is the column name. You can see here, ensure is the column name. Ensure was the column name, right? So now we are going to scatter plot our data, followed by we will have to give the color of our data. So color may be red or anything. And also we will have to choose the marker, the indicator of our data point. So here I'm choosing plus as the indicator. So now we will, and also we will plot the X label and Y label. We will plot the X label and Y label. Here we will give it as age, and we will plot the Y label also. Okay, now let us see how it is executing. So this is our distribution. This is our data distribution, right? See, from this graph, you can infer that the probability of youngsters to go for an insurance is lesser. You can see lesser number of data points here, that is from the age 20 to 30. For them to go for an insurance is having a very low probability. And you can see here, there are so many data points here, right? As the person is aged, if he is above 40 years of age, you can see more number of insurance occurring here, right? So we have just visualized our data distribution, and our next step is we will have to use train test split method to split our data set into training data and test data. See, this is the point where you will have to focus now, right? So morning we didn't do this. Morning for the linear regression we didn't do this, but for logistic regression we need a higher prediction accuracy than the linear regression, right? Because we are going to decide, we are going to make a prediction of yes or no, of true or false, right? So you need a better prediction accuracy. For this, what you do is you're going to split your data set into training data set and test data set. You're going to split your data set into training data set and split data and test data set, right? So to split your data set, you need some library functions, right, which we will have to import. So after splitting the data set, you're going to feed the logistic regression model only with the training data set, and you're going to test the prediction accuracy with the test data set. I will show you how it is occurring, right? The first step is we will have to use train split method. We will have to use this particular method to split our data set into training data set and test data set. We will see how it has to happen, right? So for using this train split method, we will have to import some libraries. We will have to import some libraries. Let us import those libraries now. Okay. So from sklearn library, from sklearn library. You will have to a function which is available in the module model underscore selection, right? So all this you're doing to call the train test split method, right? We are going to split a data set into training data set and test data set, right? So to call that particular method, you will have to import the library. sklearn is the library name, and the method is available in this particular module of sklearn library, that is model underscore selection module of sklearn library. And now we are going to import the class. Now we are going to import the class train test split. So this is the class which we will have to import to make use of the train test split method. Okay. And let us execute it. The kernel is in execution now. Okay. So it is executed. And now we are going to make use of this particular method. So this train test split method is going to split a data set into two, that is a training data and test data. Okay. So let us make use of, let us call the method now. Train test split is the method. Let us call the method now. Okay. So as parameters to this function, you will have to feed in your x value, y value. You just feed in your x value and y value. You will have to pass this. So these are your first two parameters. This is your x and this is your y. And then you will have to pass another parameter, that is the test data size, right? So here I'm giving it as 0.2. So this, I will just infer about this. So you're going to split your data now. 80% of your data set is going to be for training. It's going to be for a training data. And 20% of your data, since I've given 0.2 here, 20% of your data is going to be for testing purpose, right? 80%, if you give 3 here, if you give 0.3 here, 30% of data will be for testing and 70% of the data will be for training, right? So here I'm going to, for a better accuracy, we will have to increase the training data size. So I am just reducing the test data size as 0.2. So 20% of data is going to be for testing purpose. Okay. And the next one is, and the next parameter is random underscore state. The next parameter is random underscore state is equal to 0. So what is this parameter, random underscore state? See, whenever you give a value 0 to this particular parameter, it is understood it is understood by Python. It is understood by the model that different times of execution, different values will be taken for training data and test data, right? So you're just making it random. You're not fixing the training data and test data. You're just going to make the training data and test data random for different execution. See, when you execute for the first time, the training data and test data will be a particular set of values. When you execute for the second time, the training data and test data will be some other set of values which is available in your data set, right? So that is why we are giving this random state to be 0. So now we have made a call for this particular method. We have utilized this train test split method, and what this method will return. So this method is just going to return the training data set and test data set, right? So now we will have to capture the returned values. That is, we will have to capture the training data set and test data set returned by this particular function. So here we are going to have it as x underscore train, x test, y train, and y test. So here we are going to capture the returned training data set and test data set. Why do we have X? X has its own train and test, Y has its own train and test, because X and Y are the features of the data set, isn't it? X and Y are the features of the data set. So the data gets trained as on a whole with all the columns, right? So we are going to capture the training data set and test data set with its feature, right? Okay. So now let us execute this. There is some error. There is some end of line error. Just a minute, I'll check. I'll check why is it showing. Right? So here I have used single quotes by mistake, right? While copying, I made a mistake. There was a single quotes here, so now it is fine. Okay. So now we have just splitted our data into training data and test data. Okay. So now the next step is, so we have completed this step of splitting our data into training data and test data. Now we will have to import the logistic regression class. In the morning, we have imported linear regression class. Now we are going to import logistic regression class. Okay. So now let us import logistic regression class. So where will the regression class be available? In which library? It will be available in sklearn library, right? In a module, linear model, right? From that, we will be importing our logistic regression class instead of linear regression class. So the syntax goes the same. From sklearn library, we will have to, from this particular linear model package, we have to import the logistic regression class. We have to import logistic regression class, right? So now we have imported this class. Let us execute it. Yes. Now we will have to create an object for the logistic regression class. We will have to create an object for the logistic regression class. So I'm going to have my object name as model. Logistic regression class, we have created an object. Okay. So now we have created an object. And the next step is we will have to train our model. The next step, we have to train our model. See here. The next step is we will have to create an object. We have created an object. The next step is we will have to train our model. Right? Okay. So now we will have to train our model. So how do you train? You have to call the fit function. You will have to call the fit function, which is available in this logistic regression class, right? So you'll have to call the fit function. And what do you feed in here? What do you feed in here? So morning you have seen, what do you feed in here? We will have to feed in X, Y, right? So here it is going to be X train and Y train. Because our data set has been split into training data and test data, we have to train our model only with the training data. So the training data has been captured in these variables, that is X train and Y train, right? Already we have done this. So we will have to train our model using only the training data. So I'm feeding in this X train and Y train. Let me execute this. It is showing some kind of a library error, right? I don't know. This is not getting imported properly. Just give me some time, right? I don't know. This library is not loaded properly, right? Just 1 minute. I'll just check out. Let me execute from the first. There is a library error now. I don't know, the problem is with this particular module, I hope so, right? So let us just try with a two-dimensional, as we said, it was two-dimensional. Let me just try it with the two-dimensional thing, right? I don't know. I think the problem is with this line. So now let us execute this again. Okay, it executes. It's executing. There is no problem here. Yes. I think now we have arrived at, now we have debugged. The problem was, students, please listen. So these are all the problems where we go wrong. These are all the areas where we actually go wrong. Even I went wrong now, right? So here in this place, this is where we went wrong, right? You just have a just focus here. So when our data, when feeding our column values to the strain test split method, I just didn't use this square braces, right? So as I said in the morning, we should have it in mind always the x variable, always the independent variable should be fed in as a two-dimensional array, right? For any kind of model, it should be fed in as a two-dimensional array. Earlier, what I have done was I just referred this particular column with data dot age, right? So that is not possible here. So that was the major error. And here also, I made the same type of reference towards the data column ensure, right? You use square braces. Always you make sure that the x variable, that is the independent variable, it should always be referred as a two-dimensional array. So this is where we went wrong, right? So now it is working fine. Now it is working fine. So now I have used the fit method. I have used the fit method, right? You see here. So I have called the fit method in order to train our model, right? So in X train and Y train, X train and Y train objects, it contains our training data set. And now the model has been trained. So this shows that the model has been trained, right? When you get an output as logistic regression, followed by this parenthesis, you can make sure that your model has been successfully trained, right? So now I'm just going to make predictions using the trained model. See, now I'm just checking out what is my test data, because the data is actually split into test data and training data. I want to find out what is my test data. See, test data, I have only three set of values. That is 47, 50, and 49 age values I have got. Since I have given point 2, that is 20 percentage of data size to be test size, the test size is very small here. I have increased the y values. Y values for this, I'm calling model.predict function. So I am just passing the test data set as the parameter to this function predict, right? Here is the output. Here you can see the output. I'm just executing this. Here you can see the output. So now it has changed. Now actually the test data has changed, right? See, you see here, we have completed the model training. And now let us check what is our test data set. Since we have chosen a random test data and training data, by giving random underscore state is equal to 0, it is changing for each execution. So now this is our test data size, right? We have around 27 records in our data set. So around 6 records have been chosen for the test data for this particular execution. And now let us execute this predict function, right? See here, for this set of x values, I am predicting the y values using this predict function. You see here, if a person's age is 47, the probability for him to purchase an insurance is 1, right? So he is going to purchase an insurance. For a person with age 50, the probability for him to purchase an insurance is 1. right? For the person with age 49, his probability is 1 for purchase, and for the person with the age 58, his probability is 1, with 56, his probability is 1, and for a person with an age 28, his probability to purchase is 0. Right. So youngsters are not going for health insurance. Youngsters mostly they are not going for health insurance. So this record alone, a person right? So this is the predictions which we have done with our logistic regression model. So age is the X variable, that is the independent variable, and the probability for him to purchase the insurance, yes or no, it is going to be the categorical dependent variable. So here we have splitted our data set as training data set and test data set. So since we have called the train test split method with random state is equal to 0, for each execution, the train data set and test data set is changing. Right? Not always the model is going to have the same set of values for training and same set of values for testing. It is changing for each execution, but the values will definitely be from our data set. Right? The values will definitely be from our source data set. Okay. So here we have made our prediction, and now let us find the accuracy of a model. So the accuracy of the model can be predicted with this score function. Right? In the morning also, we have predicted the accuracy of the linear regression model with score function. So here we have predicted the accuracy. We have to pass our test data set as the parameter here. Right? So I'm passing this X test and Y test data, and the accuracy has been predicted as 1. That is 100% accuracy. As I said in the morning, since the data set is small, our model is showing a 100% prediction accuracy. In case if the data set grows large, right, large in number of features, then there may be few wrong predictions done by the model, and your accuracy will be from 70 to 80 or 90% accuracy, right? So with this score function, we will be able to find the accuracy of the model. And now there is another function. There is another function called as predict underscore probability. There is another function called as predict underscore probability. All these functions are available with the linear underscore model module under sklearn library, right? So predict underscore probability function. What this function does is it is just going to predict the probability. It is just going to predict the probability. Now let me execute this because our test data set has changed here. Let me execute this. You see here, this is the prediction probability. You have this column to be 0 and this column to be 1, right? This is false and this is true, right? That is not to insure, and this is for insuring. This is not for insuring and this is for insuring. So now let us find out the prediction probability with the age, right? So here comes our, you just see the test data set. So this is our test data set. So for a buying and insurance is just 0.3, and for the for the person with the age of 47, the probability for him to buy an insurance is 0.6. So higher probability of buying an insurance. That is why we have received a value as 1 here, a value as true, right? And for a person with age 28, you just see this last record, that is 28. His probability to buy an insurance is 0. Check it out with the prediction probability. You see the last row here. For a person with age 28, the probability for him to purchase the health insurance, for him not to purchase the health insurance is 0.8, and the probability for him to purchase the health insurance is 0.1. That is why we have received a value as 0. So youngsters, they are not opting for a health insurance. So this is the findings which we have made from this machine learning technique. Okay. And also we will find out for a different value for a person of age 54, or for a person of for a person of age 54, what is the probability for him to buy an insurance, right? So here we are passing X value, that is the age value. So you will have to cover it up with the two braces, two square braces, because it's a two-dimensional array value. And this is where we went wrong today, right? So now I'm executing this. Okay. So his probability to buy an insurance is 1 because his age is 54. let us check it for the age 14, right? Let us check it for age 14. The probability for this person to buy an insurance the logistic regression model. Okay, hopefully I've made it clear. So the problem is, whenever you're dealing with the independent variables, you please represent the independent variables. You refer to the independent variables with a two-dimensional array, right? You'll have to use two square braces. So this is where we went wrong, and you may also go wrong when you work with the project. You should be very careful here. So I just referred this value earlier as data.age. So that is why it didn't compile, right? And that was the error. So please be very careful. And in case of logistic regression, let me summarize this process of logistic into training data set and test data set. So using the method train underscore test underscore split method. So this is the method. This is available in this sklearn library. We have to import the library. And this method is taking 4 parameters, your x parameter, which should be in 2 dimension, your y parameter, it is single dimension, that is a dependent variable, and the test size. You will have to mention the test here. If you give 0.6 here, then only 40% of your data set will be considered for training, and the remaining 60% will be considered for testing, right? You should, it is always better for you to increase, should have a best accuracy, right? So here in this case, I have given 20% for testing and 80% of the data for training. And this parameter random underscore state is equal to 0. This is just representing that for different times of execution, the model is considering different set of values for testing and training, right? Okay. And now let us get into the next stage. We have to build our model, right? To build our model, we will have to import this logistic regression class, which is available in sklearn library. We will have to create an object for this particular class. Only with that object, we will be able to access all the functions available in this class. And we are training our model, right? We are training our model with the spit function. You have to pass in the training data set for training our model. So the training data set has been returned in these variables, right? The training data set has been returned by the train test split function into these variables. So you're going to feed in the training data set with proper variable names, right? With proper objects which have been created. So here the model is trained, and here you now once the model is trained, you can make predictions using the trained model. You're just seeing the test data. So these are all the test data. And let me execute this again. Okay. Now you're just testing a value with this predict function. So for this test data set, you're finding the y values. So for this data, these are the y values. 1 means true and 0 means false. 1 represents that the person goes for an insurance. 0 represents that the person is not going for an insurance. You can also find the accuracy of the model using this score function. The score function will take the data set as the argument. Morning, we would have just given our data column names alone. But here, the data has been split into test data and training data. In this case, you will have to feed in this test data only, right? In order to find out the accuracy of the prediction of our model. And you can use another function called as predict probability function, predict underscore probability function. So this shows the probability, yes or no probability. This is no. Column 1 is no, that is 0. And column 1, this column is true, that is 1. And for this value, for the person with an age 47, the probability that he is not purchasing is 0.3 and the probability that he is purchasing is 0.6. So he has a higher probability. That is why the value is 1 here. He goes for a purchase of insurance, right? And we can predict with our own values also, future values also. You can predict with any values as you require, right? And now you execute this So for a person with an age 76, it is predicted that he will definitely go for purchase of a health insurance, right? So now we have completed this logistic regression technique, and we will end up, right? We will end this logistic regression technique, and now let us get into some of the basics, some more basics, right? We have another data set as the COVID data set, right? COVID-19 data set, which is available in Kaggle, and let us explore that data set with some basic data analysis commands. Let me stop here. If in case of any doubt or
Ma'am, can you hear me, ma'am? Ma'am?
yes, Pa, I can hear you, Vidya.
Ma'am, actually, one question is asked in the chat box, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Difference between prediction and classification. Can classification problems be treated as recurring problem?
Okay. The difference between the classification and prediction is classification, it classifies with a category, right? It classifies with a category either true or false, either yes or no. So that is the classification, right? Either the incoming mail is going to be placed in inbox or not, yes or no. So that is the classification. And prediction, see here we are able to yeah, in the example which we saw in the morning, we were able to predict the salary of a person with different years of experience, isn't it? We were able to just predict salary for any number of years of experience. So that is the prediction process we make. Classification is completely categorical, right? Either true or false. So that is the classification problem, right? Either it will drain tomorrow or not. So that comes under classification category. The prediction it involves both. It involves this yes or no category. Also you will be able to predict the value of a dependent variable. You will able to make predictions on the value of a continuous dependent variable with respect to an independent variable x, right? You can predict the total you can predict the house rent. You can predict the house rent for any number of square feet which you given for the area of a house, right? So this is I hope I have clarified this prediction and classification. So one more doubt a student has asked, I hope so.
Yes, ma'am. Can we predict a record using index number?
Can we predict a record using
Index number.
no, how would you predict? No. See, there is actually you cannot predict a record using index number. You can explore a record using its index number, right? You can explore. You can just explore the record. Exploration is different from prediction, right? You have nothing to do with index number in case of prediction. So index number, it is just indicating the record number, the row number. So nothing you're going to do, nothing this index number has got with the prediction or classification, right? You cannot use that value. Instead, just for exploring the data, in some cases, you can be using the index number, right? So that is different, but that is possible only with some querying languages, right? It is not possible here. This index number, it is just the record number or row number. You're not going to do anything with prediction or classification in this case. And another student has asked, what is the difference between, can you re-explain the difference between logistic and linear regression? Shall I do it now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, the difference between this linear regression and logistic regression is the main difference falls upon the dependent variable. That is your Y variable. In linear regression, the dependent variable is continuous, right? The dependent variable is continuous. It is either continuously increasing or it is continuous value. So that is case regression. For example, if you have air moisture in your X, and if you have, I'm sorry, in case we have seen let us take the same example we have taken in the morning, right? So salary and the years of experience, right? So as the years of experience increases, the salary is also increasing. As the years of experience decreases, the salary also is decreasing, right? So here it takes continuous values. It takes continuous values from X, and with relevance to X, it will be either decreasing continuously or it will be increasing, right? So that is continuous. In case of logistic regression, the dependent variable, that is the Y variable, is categorical. It takes only two values, either 0 or 1, right? I will show you the data set here, which we have taken for this logistic regression, which we have seen today. See, this is the data set we have taken for logistic regression. Let me show you. See, this is the data set which we have taken. You see, this is our ages variable, independent variable, and ensure is the Y variable, that is a categorical variable. So it contains values as 0 or 1 only. 0 indicates false and 1 indicates true, right? It is a binary variable. In case of linear regression, the dependent variable is a continuous variable. In case of logistic regression, the dependent variable is a binary variable. It takes only two values, either true or false, right? Hopefully I have clarified, I think so. Okay.
I think no other doubts, ma'am.
Okay. So let me continue with the next data set, that is our COVID data set.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So now let us start exploring this COVID-19 dataset. I've taken a small subset of this COVID-19 dataset because this COVID-19 dataset is available in Kaggle. It contains lakhs of records, right? It is containing lakhs of records. We cannot deal with such large datasets. For your better understanding, I have just taken a small subset of the dataset with only 20 with only some thousands of records, right? The records are as on date 29th April of 2020. The dataset is available in Kaggle. You can also work with the total overall dataset also if you require, right? It is available with Kaggle. And now the first question is, first we will have to import. We will have to import our
Screen
data.
is not shared, ma'am.
Screen is not shared.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now it's visible, ma'am.
Now it is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it visible now?
Visible,
Okay.
ma'am.
So now let us import the required library. Now let me import the data set. So now let us explore the data before analyzing. We will find out the missing values, right? We will find out the missing values. We will find out the total number of missing values, and we will draw a heat map. We will generate a map with the missing values, right? So the first step is we will have to find out the total number of missing values. So for this, we can use either count function or isNull function. The count function, it will show the total number of non-null values. The count function will show the total number of non-null values, and the isNull function will show the total number of null values, right? So now let us use the count function. So let me show you the data frame first. Let me just show you the data frame first. So this is our data frame. So it contains around 6 columns, that is date, state, region, confirmed deaths and recovered. It contains around 321 records, 321 rows, right? So this is our data frame. And now 321 records, we will find out either any column is containing missing values. So count is going to show you the total number of non-null values in each column. Right, so these are all the total number of non-null values. So some columns are containing null values, right? We can see some column are containing some null values also. So now we will just do it with isNull function. We will find out the total number of null values in each column, right? So for this, you will have to use the isNull function. This will show you the null values in each column. We have to sum up the null values in each column, right? So you are calling the sum function. So here this state column is containing around 181 null values. The state column is containing 181 null values. And now we are to draw a heat map for the missing data, right? Now we have to draw a heat map for the missing data. Okay, so let me just draw a heat map for you. The map shows the missing data with a different color, right? We will try it out. So for this, we will have to import all these libraries. That is the Seaborn library, and SNS is an object which you create for this library, and Matplotlib library is also needed. And heat map is the function. Heat map is the function, and this heat map function is available in the Seaborn library. And for this function, you will have to pass the data columns which contain the null values, right? So you'll have to pass the data columns which contains the null values. And now we will try out how this is executed. The kernel is in execution. While represents the missing values. This while represents missing values falls across the state column. It falls across the state column. Here we have identified the missing values. Right, there are around 181 missing values out of 321 records in state column. So this heat map is just plotting the missing values with a different color. This white color range, it shows the missing values across the state column. Okay, so now let us get into the questions. So the first question is, you will have to show the number of confirmed deaths and recovered cases in each region. You will have to show the number of confirmed cases, deaths and recovered cases in each region. Each is a keyword. You will have to now group the entire data frame with respect to region, right? So you will have to use group by column, and we will see how this is working, right? So now let us group it. So I am grouping the data frame. Group first. Now the entire data frame has been grouped with respect to region. For example, Tamil Nadu might contain several occurrences across the data frame. Tamil Nadu may occur for 100 times. Or since this is a global database of COVID, India may have occurrence for 50 times across the data frame, right? So we will have to, across all the occurrences of our country, India, we will have to find total number of deaths recovered and hospitalized or whatever it is, right? So we will have to group it with the region column. We will have to group it with the region column. Before this, let us just have a view on our data. Let us again view our data. Before working on any command, you just view the data. See, this is it. It contains date, state, region, confirmed, deaths, recovered. So the question is, we have to show the number of confirmed, number of deaths, number of recovered cases in each region. So we will have to group our data frame with respect to region, and we will have to give the total sum of confirmed cases, deaths, and recovered cases. Okay. So here we have grouped our data frame, and now in order to give a cumulative sum of the confirmed value and deaths value and recovered value across all the occurrences of a particular country or particular region, we will have to call the sum function. See, this sum function, it is just going to find the total of confirmed cases across all the occurrences of each region, right? So now we will find out how it is executing. See here. So here, Afghanistan, it contains 1,000. So this data is up to April 29 or 30th or something, right? It is a small subset of this COVID data set. So Afghanistan, it contains around 1,939 confirmed cases, 60 deaths and 252 recovered cases, right? So this is how we will identify the total number of confirmed deaths and recovered cases in each region. If you want to view the top 50 records, then you can give it as top 10 records. You can just give it as head of 10. See, these are the top 10 records, right? Otherwise, you can, if you need to view what, you can give tail. So this is one way of arriving at a solution to this question. And the next, suppose you want to view only the confirmed cases, only the total confirmed cases of each region, or you need to view only confirmed and deaths across each region, then what would we do? Right? We will. So here, this data, this resultant set is showing the values for all the other columns, right? For confirmed deaths and recovered. Suppose if you want to see the values only for confirmed and death column, then you can use. See here. So here you are getting only the confirmed values. Here you are getting only the confirmed values. In case if you want to find out which region is having the highest confirmed values, then you can sort these values based on ascending order or descending order. If you want to find out the peak value, then you can just sort it in a highest confirmed use sort underscore values. It is a function. You call this function and you can give ascending. If you give ascending is equal to false, then it is going to be descending. It would give you a descending order. You can find out the highest number of confirmed cases, right? See, US has got highest number of confirmed cases till April 29. So this is the descending order of the records. If you want to see both confirmed cases and death cases, then you can just, here it is showing only the confirmed cases. In case of you want to see both confirmed and death cases, then you just give it as confirmed comma deaths. So this will be treated as a list, right? The list of values which you want to retrieve, right? You after some time, right? At the end of the session, I will tell you. So for now, you just focus on this, right? For just retrieving any two of the columns for this particular command, there is a syntax as sort by. I will just tell you in the end of the session, right? Okay. So now to remove all the where confirmed case less than 10. Right? You will have to remove all the confirmed cases or less than 10. So for this, you have to find the matching records where the confirmed cases is less than 10 with the filtering technique, right? And then you will have to remove all the records. So even this kind of an exercise we have dealt earlier yesterday. Okay. So first step is we will have to filter out the records. We have to remove all the records where confirmed cases are less than 10, right? We will have to filter out all the records. So now let us execute this. So now this is a Boolean set which is returned. We will just have a view over the entire data frame for the matching records. So here it is. So these are the records with the confirmed cases less than 10. Now we will have to remove all these records. Now we will have to remove all these records. So the syntax is we will have to use a negation operator. Syntax is we will have to use the negation operator. So here we will have to use the negation operator. And you will have to cover it up with a square brace because you're removing all the records which are matching this particular condition. Okay. So now let us execute this. Now we have executed. Let us check. In order to make this to be reflected in your data frame, what you should do is you will have to assign it to your data frame. Only then the changes you have made gets reflected, right? Only then the changes you have made gets reflected in your data frame. Okay. So now it has been deleted. Now we will find out with unique command whether are there any values, what are all the values which are available with this confirmed column, right? So here you cannot find any value which is less than 10 because we have removed all the values which are less than 10, right? Okay. So the next question is, in which region the maximum number of confirmed cases were recorded? In which region maximum number of confirmed cases were recorded? So this is the earlier thing, right? Just a very small twist. Hopefully. So whenever we have deleted some records which where the confirmed cases were less than 10. If you want to work as such with the data frame, then you can continue working. But otherwise, in case if you have deleted some records, you can just reload your data set and start working. But in this case, I think that the countries which have confirmed cases to be less than 10 is not that much significant for us to work with. So I'm just continuing with the same data frame, irrespective of the deletion operation which I have carried out, right? So now we have to find out in which region maximum number of confirmed cases were identified. So this is similar to the thing which we have already worked out. So here, this will give you the sum of so here we have applied the group by operation. We have grouped our entire data frame based upon the region, and we are going to find the cumulative sum of the confirmed values across all the occurrences of each record across the data frame, right? And I've given the sort underscore values function. I've called the sort underscore value function, and I have just made ascending to be false. So if it is ascending as false, then it gives you a descending order. The top record will give you the maximum number of confirmed cases. So this we have already tried. And this US is giving the maximum number. Let us find out the minimum number of confirmed cases now. So here it is going to be true. If you give ascending is equal to true, then it is going to show you the top record will be the country with minimum number of confirmed cases, right? Okay. So here we have this Zambia, Suriname, Holy See, they are all with very few number of confirmed cases. See, it is starting from 10. The total number of confirmed cases, it is starting from 10 only because we have removed all the records which were less than 10. We have removed all the records whose confirmed cases which was less than 10. Okay. The next question is, in which region the number of death cases, the minimum number of death cases were recorded. So the same thing, the same thing. Just I want to clarify this ascending and descending to you. That is why I'm working on it. So the question is, in which region the minimum number of death cases were recorded? So here I have made ascending to be true, and we have grouped the entire data frame based on region. I'm selecting this deaths column alone. I don't want the confirmed and the recovered cases here. I need only the death column, right? And I need the country with number of deaths. So Cambodia has no death at all. It had no death at all till April 30. So this is the findings which we have made. And the next question is, how many confirmed deaths recovered cases were reported from India, right? How many confirmed deaths and recovered cases were reported from Indian country alone till 29th April? So we will have to use filtering. We will have to filter the region based on this value India, because region contains the country names of several countries. We need the data values. We need the confirmed deaths and recovered case values of India alone. So we will have to carry out a filtering process. So just you're going to refer to the data column, that is region, and you're going to pass in, you're going to check it against the value India, right? With this double equal to. This is just a process of filtering which we have seen earlier. So in India until 29th April, so we haven't categorized, the dataset contains no states, it just contains only the country names, right? And the confirmed cases were 33,062, the deaths were 1,079, and recovered were 8,437. Okay, so this is just with the simple filtering we have retrieved the values. And the next thing is, sort the data with respect to number of confirmed cases in ascending order, right? We have to sort the data with respect to number of confirmed cases in ascending order. So this we have already worked out. See here, with confirmed cases alone, see here. So now I am just going to show you this different syntax. This is a different syntax. See here, the question is, sort the data with respect to number of confirmed cases in ascending order. You can use this syntax. See, this is a keyword. By is a keyword. So this is just filtering the resultant set based on your requirement. You don't need only confirmed. Just particular, getting categorized as per your requirements for confirmed cases alone, right? So now we will execute this. So this is it. You can view the top 10 rows also if you require. And now we will try it out. We just want to sort the data of this, right? So here's the question. How do the data with respect to recovered cases in this year? Students, I want to just solve this question. Solve this question. This is an afternoon session. And you please solve this and you just post in the chat box. You solve it and post it in chat box. Solve data with respect to number of recovered cases in descending order. You'll have to group the data frame with respect to region, and you will have to just extract the recovered cases value alone, aggregated value of the recovered cases, and you will have to sort it in the descending order. You will have to call the sort underscore values function. You will have to give ascending is equal to false. So this is the clue which I give. You please work on and just post me. So the same as this, just you're going to give ascending is equal to false. Anybody? Nobody in the chat box? So here we have done it using descending order, right? So here we have retrieved the death cases across all the countries with the descending order. So US shows a highest death record in case of COVID-19 for as on date April 29, 2020. So this data set is available with Kaggle. You can make some more findings with this data set. You can, for as on date, you can extract a different data set and you can work on it, right? Okay. So hopefully this session would have been useful to you. We have completed the regression technique and also in this COVID-19 project, you have seen how you will have to visualize the missing values which are present in your data, right, with using a heat map. So you need this Seaborn library. So this is new to you here. And also you have learned the sort underscore values function, which will be the records. So sorting is very important in in all these data sets as COVID-19 because you want to find out the highest death rate. You want to find out the lowest death rate. Then you will have to sort the data frame so that easily you can identify the value within a fraction of a second. So this function is very important for you to explore. And I will be sharing you this COVID-19 dataset and this notebook file also. You please work on it. If you require, you please download it. You download the fresh data set of COVID-19 if required. Also, I will be sharing the data set which we have worked today for COVID-19. It is a small subset. Okay, so kindly post the doubts, if any. Kindly post the doubts, if any, or shall we wind up the session?
Ma'am, I think there is no doubts, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, thank you all. Thank you so much. So tomorrow we will be continuing with the machine learning techniques. So whenever you have any kind of doubts, please post it in the WhatsApp group or Google Classroom. Kindly let me know the doubts and clarify it at the earlier stage so that you keep on working with the projects as on date. Today I posted a project assignment. You will have to create, you will have to build a logistic regression, I'm sorry, a linear regression model for house rent I have posted it. I have posted the data set also. You will have to work on it, and you will have to submit your assignments and quiz assignments on time. As I said in the morning, you please make justice to the certificate which you earn. Don't earn a certificate just like that. You do the justice, bring in your efforts, and becoming a data scientist, it is very data scientist. Just if you have your job profile as a data scientist, then it is the most glamorous job profile which you could have across the globe. It is very trending. The job of a data scientist is very trending now. So it is a very, very glamorous and very heart-throbbing job for so many youngsters. So here you started to learn from the basics. You please understand the basic concepts very clearly, because when you get into the deep learning concepts, you should be strong in your fundamentals. So that is why the institution has arranged a very good platform for you to get to know with the of basics, and just this training is a hands-on, just as a hands-on training it is for you, right? The institution also required the same. They needed a hands-on, so that is why not much I'm into the theory portion, much I'm into the hands-on portion. So you please make use of the workshop effectively, and kindly submit the quiz assignments and the projects as project assignments before your due date and time. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.